one article after another after another. And he's like, this is little Florida, Gulf Breeze, Florida. He was irate last night. And well, he should be. It was righteous indignation. But this is going on all over the country. You see it. You and I both probably visit hundreds of news websites a day in our occupation and job of prepping for programming, but also posting articles on our websites. It's everywhere. It is stunning. I don't think the average American maybe realizes it to this degree because they don't scan as many websites a day as we do. Closing comment?
That's right. Yeah, and it's going to get worse. So I encourage people to get over to libertysentinel.org, go to thenewamerican.com, check out Classical Conversations. And thank you very much for having me, Brennan. Always a pleasure. Appreciate what you do.
Thank you. Alex Newman checking in, libertysentinel.org. He'll be a keynote speaker again at our national conference coming up October 3rd. That's a Friday night. And Saturday, October 4th. Don't forget about our optional concert, banquet, and keynote address on Thursday night in the beautiful area of Collierville. Full details, worldviewstore.com. Take care.
Colonel Rob Maness has a lifelong record of providing dedicated service to this nation. Having worked his way up from the enlisted ranks to full colonel, he served our country for more than 32 years. He has served as a bomber squadron commander, bomb disposal technician, Joint Chiefs of Staff Operations Officer, assisted the National Security Team with the campaign plan for the global war on terrorism. He authored the first theater nuclear war plan and served as the Vice Commander of America's largest airborne intelligence wing. Colonel Rob Maness is a true American hero. This is Rob Maness Live.
The Russian government has engaged in espionage against Americans. They have hacked American websites, American accounts of private people, of institutions. Then they have given that information to WikiLeaks for the purpose of putting it on the internet. This has come from the highest levels of the Russian government, clearly from Putin himself, in an effort, as 17 of our intelligence agencies have confirmed, to influence our election. So I actually think the most important question of this evening, Chris, is finally, will Donald Trump admit and condemn that the Russians are doing this and make it clear that he will not have the help of Putin in this election, that he rejects Russian espionage against Americans, which he actually encouraged in the past. Those are the questions we need answered. We've never had anything like this happen in any of our elections before.
That was a great pivot off the fact that you want open borders, okay? How did we get onto Putin?
Continue to get help from him because he has a very clear favorite in this race. So I think that this is such an unprecedented situation. We've never had a foreign government trying to interfere in our election. We have 17 intelligence agencies, civilian and military, who have all concluded that these espionage attacks, these cyber attacks, come from the highest levels of the Kremlin, and they are designed to influence our election. I find that deeply disturbing, and I think it's...
She has no idea whether it's Russia, China, or anybody else.
I am not quoting myself.
She has no idea.
I am quoting
Hillary, you have no idea.
17 intelligence... Do you doubt 17
our country has
and
no idea.
Civilian agencies? Well,
yeah,
we'd rather believe Vladimir Putin than the military and civilian intelligence professionals.
You condemn any interference by Russia in the American election.
By Russia or anybody else.
You condemn their interference.
Of course I condemn. Of course I can. I don't know Putin. I have no idea. I never met Putin. This is not my best friend. But if the United States got along with Russia, wouldn't be so bad.
Welcome back to Whistleblower Wednesday. The Rob Maness Show's live on Worldview Tube and our X Spaces simulcast. Well, the Clintons are finally under the microscope of justice. But how did the Clinton campaign basically trick or work with members of the intelligence services to launch this hoax? That's a great question, but folks, I'm here to tell you, this was more than a hoax. Here's what it was. It was a wide conspiracy to use all the instruments of government power to destroy a duly elected president and obstruct his execution of the law of our land faithfully as the presidential oath demands. Hillary Clinton is widely known for criminal activity throughout her political life, but has never been held accountable under our laws. Will this be the time and place of justice for the American people regarding the Clintons? With a grand jury being convened about Russiagate? Well, my guest today to discuss all this is the man that carried the nuclear football for President Bill Clinton, and he is intimately familiar with Hillary's nefarious ways. Retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Buzz Patterson is a former Air Force pilot, a popular speaker, a Red State columnist, and a best-selling author. He dares to speak the truth in his books like Dereliction of Duty, Reckless Disregard, War Crimes, and Conduct Unbecoming. He's currently writing his 5th book about the Biden Pentagon, I think. Buzz, welcome to the Rob Maness Show.
Hey, Rob, how you doing?
I'm doing great. That clip that I just showed, my friend, I mean, I actually was chuckling before they cut my mic back on during the clip because it was so obvious to me when I saw that the first time live that she was up to something. You know what I mean?
Go ahead. And that's who she is. That's who she is, Rob. I mean, I've known this lady, 30 some odd years. And that's just who she is. And she is so power hungry that she concocted this thing. No doubt in my mind, she and Obama concocted this thing to try to, stack the deck against Donald Trump in 2016. And of course, they lost, and they lost again. And I've worked a long time on this, Rob, and I really hope that my work comes to fruition here with this grand jury and with finally, dear God, holding Hillary Clinton and her cabal responsible for this and other things. I mean, this is just her dipping the toe in a place that it wasn't supposed to be, but she's got other issues going on as well. So yeah, I mean, I applaud this. I'm cautiously optimistic that justice will be done here and that she will finally see the inside of a jail.
That's fantastic. And you spent a lot of time with her, right? I mean, if you're with the president 24/7, that means you are spending. I mean, I know he avoided her, if I understood what I was observing correctly, but still, you spent a lot of time with her. What kind of things did you see that led you to believe what you've written about several times now, just how criminal she was?
Well, I lived with the Clintons for 2 years. So I was a 2-year assignment. I was the Air Force guy, nuclear football guy. I was also the senior military aide. So I kind of was the daddy rabbit for scheduling and other stuff for the other guys. But great group of guys. But we lived there. We lived in the White House. So everywhere, I shadowed her husband, but often that included her as well. And, fundraising events on the West Coast or there in Washington, D.C., she has a knack for really getting into the underside, the underbelly of American politics. And I don't know, because she's not nearly as talented or smart as her husband. She's just not. She's not a good speaker. She doesn't have the charisma that Bill had. She doesn't know how to deal with people on a regular basis. One of the things I learned very early on in my time was when we were walking around the White House. The White House is a big office building, quite frankly, and with the residents on top. But when I first got there, it was explained to me in no uncertain terms that she didn't want to see any of the senior staff in the hallways. She didn't want to have to exchange pleasantries. She didn't want to have to acknowledge those of us that were working around her and her husband. And so I would see people, senior staff members, and I'm talking about senior staff members working for Clinton, that would dive into office doorways to avoid her gaze or her glare. I did that for a while, and I decided this is stupid. I'm not going to do it anymore. But that's just one instance, and her anger is unbelievable, very profane, and I saw her unleash on all kinds of people, including her husband. I talk about a couple of those episodes in Dereliction of Duty also, where she was just, unhinged, go off at her husband or people around her, like her personal aide. My God, that lady got just abused by Hillary over the years. And she will do anything for power. She's done it. She's done everything for power, including this. And I guarantee you that she was working very closely. The DNC paid for the Russian dossier. I mean, that's they paid for it, and she would be in the loop on everything. So there's nothing that escapes Hillary Clinton. She would have been included in everything, every conversation between her and Obama and the DNC. She knew exactly what was going on, and of course she had the intelligence community, basically eating out of her hand. Which those guys need to go to jail too, Rob. Clapper and Brennan and those characters. They orchestrated this thing and it failed. And that's probably the best thing we can say. It failed. And now hopefully it's coming to light.
Yeah. This clip is evidence. They should be using this as evidence because it's dated October of 2016 with the actual day. And if you look at the declassified docs that Tulsi Gabbard has made public now, and then the Durham Annex that Grassley has declassified, it shows that President Obama stopped the presidential daily brief that was scheduled to come out on December 9th. Well, because he wanted some intelligence to show that the Russians were doing what Hillary Clinton said they were doing in this video. And she even used the phrase, 17 intelligence agencies agree. And that's the same type of discussion that you find in the fake intelligence community assessment that Obama directed be accomplished, that was published in late December, early January of 2017. So she's out there in public talking about these details that can only come from intelligence insiders.
Yeah,
well before even Obama stopped the PDB on December 9th.
That's correct. And for those for your watchers and listeners, the PDB is a highly classified document that gets delivered to the president every morning, and I used to take it to President Clinton, as a matter of fact, and sometimes he'd have questions about it, and sometimes he wouldn't. But that's a pretty standard practice. But Obama's stopping it. And, so what they did essentially, Rob, is they had an answer. They wanted Trump indicted or Trump condemned for some kind of relationship with Putin. So they had the answer. And then they told the intelligence guys to go back and make it happen. So that's, I started with the answer, which was not correct. And these intelligence guys, again, Hillary and Obama were pretty important Democratic Party officials. He was the president and she was running for president. And but I think that clip is exactly who she is. I was laughing too as before we came on, because I know that lady, and that's exactly who she is. And she's a liar, and she's capable of doing anything and everything for her own political power. And that's what transpired with Russia.
Yeah, absolutely. And up until that point, the intelligence community had been reporting very clearly that Russia had nothing to do with the election, with election meddling, and that they appeared to favor having Hillary Clinton be elected, and showed no favoritism toward Donald Trump because they thought they had something on Clinton where they could manipulate her. So that's what our intelligence people were reporting all the way up until President Obama stopped that presidential daily brief. I think it was December 9th from being published, and told the guys to go rework it and to show that Russia was really doing that. Because guess who was going to get a copy of that daily brief for the first time? President-elect.
Yep.
Donald Trump.
Yep. Yeah, they didn't tell him. They didn't tell him everything that was going on. You know, I mean, there's always been kind of a gentleman's agreement over the years when one presidential administration is moving out and the other's moving in. You do everything you possibly can to make sure that transition is smooth for the incoming folks, because working at the White House is a whole different animal, and it takes you a while to get your feet in the ground and figure out what's what and who's who. And so we really tried hard, in my years there, to make sure that the next, when Bush was coming in, for example, Bush Jr., there was Democrats were putting porn on White House computers and messing with the phone dials and spelling out graphic, 4-letter words on people's. So the Clintons didn't help anybody, and because it's all about them, quite frankly, And it's funny because people ask me this question all the time, Rob. If I walked into a restaurant or a bar and Bill was there, he'd come over and shake my hand and probably give me a hug. Hillary would rip my heart out. In front of everybody, God and everybody. So, I mean, that's the difference between the two. I kind of enjoyed being around Bill, but it was her that was just the Antichrist,
I suspect it was her going around the White House pulling all the W's off the computer keyboards before you guys.
That's exactly what happened. Oh, then she stole the furniture too.
We got to take a commercial break.
Too.
Yeah, exactly. She did. We got to take a break, go to a commercial, but we'll be right back with Buzz Patterson. He's blown the whistle. He's got several books now, and I want to talk to him about the war crime book because Hillary's in it when we come back. But we'll see the seditious conspiracy totally uncovered in a little clip I think it's with Jonathan Turley when we come back with Buzz Patterson, my guest today on Whistleblower Wednesday.
This is the first necessary step to finding out about the real Russian conspiracy. There never was a Russian collusion conspiracy. That was hatched by the Clinton campaign. They secretly funded the Steele dossier. They denied that to the media. And they laid out this very successful political hit job using the media, using the government. It's amazing how much the public still doesn't know. But in the last few weeks, this administration has given us information that we haven't seen before. I've been following this, writing about it for years. Some of this is new stuff, and it's startling.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. We're talking with retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel and pilot, author, and football carrier, nuclear football carrier for President Bill Clinton, about his experience with the woman that started it all. This seditious conspiracy is what it is, folks. It really is. Go look up the definition of seditious conspiracy, and you'll see that I'm right. And you saw that opening clip at the top of the show about it, and now That's Turley there talking about the documents that Tulsi Gabbard declassified and released the initial tranche of it. And we'll have another clip from Senator Grassley the day that he released the Durham Annex that was declassified, too, that added to this. But Buzz, I mean, I think we got him hands down here. And Hillary is just the beginning of it. You know, she's just the nugget that started it. What's interesting is that they kept her out of all the official meetings in January. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, that was by design, I think, just to make sure that further cover her tracks. I mean, again, Hillary has got kind of a sixth sense for how not to expose herself, although she's exposed herself on many occasions. You know, I mean, one thing the Democrats do, Rob, which is impressive, that I noticed when I was working in the Clinton White House, is that they do a great job of circling the wagons and protecting their principles. You know, in this case, Bill and Hill, they do a really good job of that. And, you know, sooner or later, that kind of thing cracks. And I think you're going to see when they start really, drilling down on this, I'm hoping and praying that some people just decide to flip and spill the beans, because that's what it's going to take to get her, and that's probably what it's going to take. I mean, people say, well, Obama has presidential immunity. Well, he doesn't have any presidential immunity for things that happened after he left the office. So if there was emails or phone calls that were made after his second term, then he's subject to those and liable for those as well. So I would love to see him go down too. But, of all the people I want to see arrested, she's got to be number one, followed closely by Comey and Brennan and Clapper, and Wray. I think Christopher Wray had some part of this. I mean, the fact that we didn't see the Durham Annex until, Grassley released it. And there was some really interesting stuff in the Durham Annex. I mean, that was, I think, more impactful really than what Tulsi Gabbard released. So there's some nuggets in that annex that people are glossing over, maybe not really paying attention to, but there's smoking guns in that annex, and I think that's where they're going to go. I think the grand jury is going to go after that pretty hard.
Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, if it's a real grand jury and a real effort, we should see more than one indictment out of this. And I agree with you, Buzz. The former President Obama and former President Biden too. He was vice president in that January 5th meeting. Where the genesis of collectively getting the intelligence community, including the FBI and the Department of Justice, acting Attorney General at the time, into a room together and giving orders, essentially, is what President Obama did. Beyond even, hey, make this PDB right so it shows Russia's favor in Trump in December, but beyond that, directing the intelligence community assessment to ensure that it included things like the Steele dossier, which Clapper was on record saying that it was crap, or Brennan, maybe it was Brennan. I'm losing track of these guys. They've lied so much and got caught at it. But one of those two had previously said that, hey, the Steele dossier is crap. And I think it's because, that Steele dossier thing was a McCain-Graham thing initially, if I remember correctly. And they had a little consulting agency. Was it Fusion GPS? Is that the name of it? That worked with them?
Yeah, it was.
That's probably why they said it was crap then. And then Hillary bought it, right?
Hillary bought it and started funding it. She kind of figured out what McCain and Graham were doing and said, hey, I want in on this action. She was trying to guarantee that she was going to be the next president, and she was willing to do anything to do it. And it just tickles my heart that she never will, and she never was, and she never will be a president of the United States. And because she doesn't deserve it, she's not up to it. She's just a very evil, vindictive old lady who cannot stand to no longer be in the spotlight. I mean, she's still out there on X trying to raise money for the Clinton Global Initiative, and they don't have it anymore. Nobody cares what the Clintons think anymore. It's yesterday's news, and I think hopefully my books have helped spread that information around a little bit. Because that's just who they are, and I'm happy to. I remember when I retired from the Air Force, Rob. You'll appreciate this. I retired from the Air Force because we had a daughter that was born prematurely and needed hospitalization and stuff. And I said, I'm just going to go fly for Delta Airlines. So I got hired by Delta. But a lot of the military guys I'd worked with in the White House started calling me saying, we're still active. We can't tell this story. We think you should tell it. So I'd never written a book before. I'd written a lot of tactical war plans and, but nothing creative. So I took a swing at it, and I think it was important. The guys that I served with, now most of them retired, are very, very thankful. The other military aides, with one exception, are very thankful that I came out and talked about it. I mean, we had one. I won't mention his name, but very good friend of mine. He was the Coast Guard aide, who, when his last day in the White House after his 2 years, he refused to shake Clinton's hand in the Oval Office. Now that's ballsy. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so he was really pushing me to do this, and he's retired now. We stay in touch. He's got his own farm now, and he's just happy and living life. But he was like, come on, man, we need somebody to tell the story, and you're the only guy that got out. So
I'm glad you did. After I entered the political arena, and I still to this day get calls and texts and DMs from people that I served with in the Air Force thanking me for continuing to speak up, especially about things going on in the military, because they couldn't do it while they were still on active duty. And some of these guys were generals and stuff. It kind of surprised me because I wasn't sure I was right about everything. You know how you get that feeling, you go, man, my gut's telling me this, but you never know. Right. But when I started getting calls from 2-star generals saying, hey, please keep doing what you're doing, because we can't do it from here. That's impressive. We got a question from the audience. Let's go ahead and take that real quick, Buzz. Go ahead. Okay. Shell is our hostess over there. Go ahead with the question, Bill.
We have Wib, sir.
Thank you, Shell. Thank you, Colonel Squared. And my question is, so Colonel Patterson, I'm not sure when your term was in the White House, but during like the Whitewater problem, there was a lot of talk that the Clintons imported their corruption from Little Rock, and that's what we're seeing today. Do you recall seeing any kind of transition between Arkansas corruption into national level corruption while you were there?
Yeah, great question. So he basically imported Clinton when he got elected the first time. He basically imported his Arkansas mafia to the White House. So his personal secretary was a lady named Betty Curry. She was also his secretary when he was governor of Arkansas. Bruce Lindsay was the White House counsel that came with Clinton to the White House and was there for the entire duration of the 8 years. Guys like that, of course, Webb Hubbell. The infamous Webb Hubbell, and when you talk about Whitewater was a little before my time, but if you remember the Vince Foster situation and the Whitewater files that went missing, and I was one of the people that Hillary Clinton wanted to move the Whitewater files around. When she would be traveling, on Air Force One and Marine One, she had a opaque file box that had all the Whitewater files in there, and she only wanted herself and or me to handle those. So I was intimately familiar with that. And she was super hawkish about those files. You knew that if they got out, she was done. And she probably still has them in her closet in Chappaqua. I'm sure she still has them because she knew that she would go to jail for that. And if that stuff had gotten out, so I hope she goes to jail this time. I mean, I think we got her dead to rights, Rob, but we'll find out.
Yeah, it was probably stored right next to in the same closet with that server that had special access program, top secret, sensitive compartmented information on it.
Yeah, no doubt.
I chuckle at that, but and we'll get to this after this break, and we hear from Senator Grassley's clip about the Durham thing. But I'll just lay it out here: the level of damage caused to the United States, just from that perspective, is unbelievably high, and there was no accountability for it. And James Comey, despicable, dastardly person that he is, traitor to his country, went out of his way to absolve her of that somehow. And the corrupt Loretta Lynch, his boss, did absolutely nothing about it, man. We got to take a break, Buzz. When we come back, we'll hear from Senator Grassley, and we'll continue. I want to get your thoughts on what level of damage you think we're at now after all this is even piled on top of that stuff. We'll be right back with Buzz Patterson.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
It actually brings attention to the fact that there was either a Clinton conspiracy to make this happen or a Russian disinformation. But either way, it was an attempt to stop Trump, and it also proves that the FBI had a hand in it. And now, after these 8 years, 3 years of my trying to get the document, we know that there was the Steele dossier paid for by the Democrats and the Clinton campaign, that it was all effort of total distraction, and to make it look like Russia was playing a very major role in helping Trump to be elected. And now we know none of that was true. And now with this Durham report annex out, it finally proves that the FBI was covering up.
It finally proves the FBI was covering up for the Clinton campaign and the seditious conspiracy initiated by Barack Obama that led to years of damage to this country, to the point that even to this day, my friends, the terms seriously grave damage, the highest level of damage release of classified information, technically speaking, in the books, is not strong enough to indicate the level of damage that's happened to this country. I live in a country where I served in the military for 32 and a half years. My dad served for 23 years. My brother served for over 20 years, all the way back to the American Revolution, where at least we had the confidence that the military institution, the Department of War, Department of Defense, would be unshakable in its ethics, its integrity, and its honor. And even parts of this have been touched by this seditious conspiracy and sedition that has been attempted on the United States of America. And I don't think it's one man against one man. I think it's against our country and the Constitution that binds us together, the Declaration of Independence values that initiated the whole war for independence and revolution, and everything that has ensued. This moment is the most horrific moment and has caused the most horrific damage to our country that anybody will see probably in the history of the country when it's all said and done. I don't know how many years it'll last, this country, but this will be the moment. And my guest today is retired Air Force Colonel Buzz Patterson, former Air Force pilot, and a pretty damn good one. He tells great stories. You should follow him on X at Buzz Patterson, because he gives story time. But he's written some great books. He carried the nuclear football for Bill Clinton, so he's intimately familiar with Clinton himself, his wife, Hillary Clinton, who is the central dastardly character, I think, in this, other than when the Barack Obama picks up the ball and makes the instruments of power in the United States government and the intelligence community attack this incoming president, attack his administration, therefore attacking us to try to destroy us. Buzz, welcome back. Man, I tell you what, I'm interested in look, I worked in Joint Nuke Ops on the Joint Staff, writing war plans and writing parts of the Black Book, the nuclear football book that you carried. So you have two guys that have been on both ends of this. We know what the level of classification is, how well this is protected, this knowledge is protected, so that this individual that occupies the presidency can make the right decision with the best information possible. But with the state of how I feel about the intelligence community today, even the Defense Intelligence Agency, that shakes me to my core.
Yep. Knowing
that I can't have confidence in the information that leads to the man or woman that's making the decision from a book being held by people like you, who I trust implicitly, but I can't trust the information anymore. That's such damage that it's beyond you and me. It's beyond us military people, even our citizens, our average citizens who have never served in government or the military. They can't trust it either. And they tell me that every day. I mean, where are you at on that? That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree with you more, Rob. I think this is the biggest political scandal in the history of this republic, and what it did, I think the damage you're talking about, I don't think gets enough attention, because it really did erode public confidence in our elected leaders and also, their cabinet members. I mean, when I grew up, I thought that the FBI was just the coolest organization, and there were guys that were trying to do the right thing all the time and taking down the bad guys, and it turns out that they're the bad guys too. I think that if you're a young adult these days, and you just got out of college, and you're trying to get involved in politics, and you look around and you realize that not only did Obama and Hillary undermine basically public confidence in the FBI, but in the DOJ. I mean, like you Loretta Lynch, you pointed out, and she and Bill were cutting deals, and I mean, I don't have a lot of confidence in. I do with President Trump, but I don't have a lot of confidence in our seminal government agencies that we were born and raised to respect and believe that we could trust. And, when we have FBI directors like Comey, who are doing everything they possibly can to undermine that trust, it's especially for those of us who served. I mean, that's to me, that's an affront, and kind of rubs me against the wrong way for having spent 20 years in uniform, going to where I was told to go, fighting where I was told to fight, and then coming home and realizing, man, was I just a chump? Was I used? I don't think Reagan and Bush Sr. used me, but I think Bill Clinton did, and I think most military members will probably agree with that. That we were. those of us, it's an all volunteer force, right? So we're joining because we want to serve our nation. 95% of us. I mean, I know there's 5% they're doing it for other reasons, but most of us want and are very proud to serve this country. And I think Trump is bringing that back, where I feel patriotism again. I didn't feel it under Biden. I didn't feel it under Obama. And I certainly didn't see it under Bill Clinton personally, which is why I decided to write my first book. It was that I had an eyewitness view on history in the White House for 2 years, and the people that we had elected to be in that White House for those 2 years, and I left shocked and repulsed. And which is one of the reasons why. I mean, I couldn't wait to get back in the air. You'll appreciate this too, Rob. I couldn't wait to get back into the real Air Force and get my integrity and character back. I felt like I had been slumming it for a couple of years, and and I wanted to get back and put my uniform on again and fly airplanes and lead people. And I think that the Democrats who have occupied 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue over the last 20 years have done a lot to damage the moral fiber of this country, and Clinton and Hillary Clinton were probably two of the most egregious.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we got another hand up in the audience. Let's go ahead and take that question. Shell, go ahead.
We have Bishop from the Punch Bowl, sir.
Good afternoon, Buzz. Is it true? Are you hearing that Trump reassigned the Secret Service that was assigned to the previous presidents and reassigned DEI hires?
Yes, it's 100% true. And so
awesome.
What he did was he tried to fire him, and some judge got involved and said no, he couldn't do that. Which he can. He's the president, and it's his Secret Service. But anyway, so he tried to fire the DEI people, and the judge intervened, and then he said, "Okay, I'm just going to send them to Bill and Hillary and Barack and Joe," and they don't want them. They want qualified young men, so they don't want the DEI hires either. So that's what I've got some buddies in the Secret Service, and they're just laughing their asses off. I mean, it's just like he's so good at this. He just he's always one step ahead, and they hired him and they get him, and that's the way Trump looks at it. But that's 100% true.
Did you hear? That's a great question, Bishop. Now I got to follow it up. Did you ever hear about the mill aides in the Biden well, I don't know about the Obama administration, but in the Biden administration, after all this DEI stuff really got it inculcated into our system, were there any problems ever highlighted among the mill aides, or did we stay with the really high performing people and that kind of stuff, regardless of what their background was?
There's always been a little bit of that. When I was there, we had to have one female. The five of us had to be a female, which was fine. They were quality women. I mean, I loved working with them. So there wasn't a problem there. But I think that I do know some guys that really complained a lot about having to do what they were doing for Biden because they just didn't know what they were going to get. I mean, the way that the nuclear process works, Rob, you probably know this better than anybody, but so it takes the military aid with the football working with the president who has the nuclear codes and the president then has questions about targeting and all that kind of stuff, which is what I was there for. And, but there has to be that synergy, there has to be, and Clinton was actually, I'm going to give him toss him a bone here. He actually, every 3 months I would brief him on the process and he would ask pretty intelligent questions. And so I always felt like, if the balloon ever went up and we had to do something nuclear wise, I had sworn to myself that I was going to make sure that the president was of sound mind and body, and that I was going to help him because that was my job. But I know that the guys that were working for Biden didn't feel the same way. They always were skeptical of how that might happen. I mean, I'm not even sure Rob, if Biden had the codes. I believe it was probably Ron Klain or someone like that who actually had the codes, because Biden was just incapacitated all the time. He slept. He was always sleeping. The 3 o'clock in the morning phone call to Biden would not have been answered. It would have just kept ringing. So it's a pretty. The process is based on a lot of faith. And the U.S. does it differently than some other countries. We don't automate it. It's human beings that are in charge, and I think that's the way it needs to be. I know that Russia and North Korea, they have their own footballs, but and they're digitized. They're laptops basically, and the U.S. said we weren't going to do that because we didn't want to be hacked. So I have heard of some guys and girls who were not very confident in Biden's ability. I know a couple of guys that worked for Obama, and they were okay with him. He was younger and more lucid, and and he can make decisions on the fly, and which is kind of what I thought Clinton was. But Biden was not that guy. I guarantee you, though, the girls and guys that are carrying the football today for President Trump are literally in heaven, in heaven, because their job is so much easier. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting. When we come back, I want to ask you a follow-up question to that. But we've got one more clip here after this break, and it's about the grand jury for this seditious conspiracy. That's what I'm calling it. That's the thing that fits best in the law, although it is treasonous activity. These guys and gals are traitors to us, to our Constitution and our country. We'll be right back with Buzz Patterson.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work, try to see a doctor this week, or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Go to worldviewhealthcare.com. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. worldviewhealthcare.com. That's worldviewhealthcare.com.
The emergency kit available at worldviewhealthcare.com. Make sure you don't have to go to urgent care. I got pneumonia. I didn't have to go. I took this last year. Stayed at home. Went to bed.
Welcome back. Russiagate may soon have its day in front of a grand jury. Attorney General Pam Bondi has ordered an unnamed prosecutor to start presenting evidence, acting on a criminal referral from Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. For more on this, we're going to bring in John Yoo. He's a former Deputy Assistant Attorney General and a professor at UC Berkeley. John, great to see you.
Good to see you, too.
So grand juries obviously are secret in this country, so we don't know who the prosecutor is. We don't know what city this grand jury is going to be convened in. We don't know who the potential targets are, but we do know this appears to be DOJ taking very seriously the referral they got from DNI Tulsi Gabbard. Give us your thoughts on this development.
This is extremely important because a grand jury getting involved is the first step to really finding out everything that happened in 2016, 2017 with the Russia hoax. In particular, how did the Clinton campaign basically trick or work with members of the intelligence services to launch this hoax, this investigation that really crippled about the first year and a half or 2 years of President Trump's first term?
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It's Whistleblower Wednesday, and we're blowing a whistle on Hillary Clinton, the Clintons, Obamas, Clapper, Brennan, Comey, McCabe. And my guest today is the nuclear football carrier and Air Force pilot, retired Colonel Buzz Patterson, and author. I don't know, how many books are you up to, Buzz? Is it the fifth one you're working on now about the Biden administration?
Yeah, I'm on. I've written 4, and it's been a while. My last one came out about 10 years ago, so it's time for a new one. And yeah, I'm working on that. And it's an interesting take because I'm actually getting a lot of guys who are willing from the Pentagon who are willing to talk on the record, which surprises me a little. Some of them are still active.
That's good.
So yeah, so I think it's going to be full of nuggets. It's not going to be news breaking, other than the fact that I think it's, for those of us in the military who still want to talk about the military and get the message out there. I think it's another piece that I can offer that shows you the difference between, what a Democratic president, how he or she leads or fails to lead in this case, and how Republican presidents lead. And I think that, you and I can agree that loyalty is up and down the chain. You can't be a commander of a unit and expect your basic airman to step to if you're not stepping to. And
That's right.
I've always led that way. I've always been first in, last out. And combat flight operations. I didn't want anybody to be able to say that, he's not willing to do it, so why do I have to do it? Yeah. And I think that Trump, he walks the walk and talks the talk,
He
and
does.
he's a commander in chief, and it's evidenced by the recruiting numbers, Rob. I mean, people want to be in the military again. They're coming out of the woodwork. I don't know if you saw this morning. I saw that ICE has 10,000 new job openings. They've had 80,000 applicants for 10,000 jobs. So I mean, people are proud to be American and want this. And I think the military. We are probably impacted more than anybody else in terms of who the president is, because he is our commander in chief and he makes that decision. Do I send men and women in combat or do I not? And it's evident that Republican presidents are way more military friendly and are easier to work with.
Yeah, for the most part, I think you're right. And I agree with you. And like me, you're from a generational military service family yourself. But I was very glad to go back to recruiting and having positive conversations with kids that were thinking about joining, because it was hard for me not to do that. But I did not do that under the Biden administration after I saw where he was going with it. I didn't want to be responsible for anybody having to fall under that. But then the recruiting numbers showed it. That's where that recruiting failure came from, is we generational service families said, no, we're not going to do it. Now we're back and we've got some real leadership. Hopefully we can get the rest of the resistors out and dive into the bureaucracy itself and the civil service. Because, Barack Obama and Joe Biden were hiring people in leadership positions well into the career civil service levels. And we got a big mountain to climb in that regard. Well, we've got one more hand in the audience. It's Shell herself. Let's go ahead and take that. Go ahead, Shell.
Hello, Mr. Patterson. My question for you is, with all the intimate, how's it going? With all the intimate knowledge you have of Hillary Clinton and the family, do you ever fear for your life, sir, still to this day, and have you in the past?
Yeah, why are you still alive?
Yeah, that's a good question. My wife asks me that question every day. Right when the first book, so Their Election of Duty was specifically about the Clintons from start to finish. And right after that book came out, we had threats. I mean, we had to call we were living in Atlanta, Georgia, a suburb of Atlanta, Georgia at the time. I was flying for Delta Airlines. And we had to get the FBI involved a couple of times. My wife was getting threats. I was getting threats. The cool thing is that when the book came out and it did so well, we had quite a few former Marines living on our cul-de-sac, and they loved the book, and they're like, "Hey, we got your back, man. Don't worry about it. If anybody comes over, let us know." And so and Hillary was the senator from New York at the time, and she went after my pension, my Air Force retirement, and of course, the Pentagon said you can't do that. Thank God. But no, she tried to go after me that way. Sandy Berger went after me in the press. Bill said a few things. It was mostly Hillary. I remember one point in time, she was calling me out. I think it was like a New York Post article or something like that. She was calling me out saying that this book was unbelievable and not true. And I said, okay, ma'am, you can name me one thing in this book that's factually incorrect, and then I will call the publisher and take it down. But you can't. And I said, I'd be happy to debate you. I'd be happy to debate you whenever, wherever you let me know, and I'll come debate you. And of course, she never did that. She just backed off because she knows that direct confrontation with somebody that knows her background intimately is not a winning proposition for them. And there was a while, but I do, Shell, I do keep my head on a swivel. I'm very aware of my surroundings, and it wouldn't surprise me if I'm still on their list. But I think after 22 years now since the book came out, I think she's over it, so it's you got to do what you got to do. You're unarmed and unafraid, man. You gotta just go in. And when I had all the friends, I remember I had a mentor who was a 2-star who now passed away. He was a SOCOM deputy at Tampa. He passed away recently, but I remember calling him when I was thinking about doing the book, because I had been his executive officer at both Charleston Air Force Base and also at Scott Air Force Base and MAC headquarters. And I remember calling him saying, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, but I'm having kind of a conscious thing. I mean, I don't know. This is a good idea. He goes, well, he said, you got to be honest with yourself. And he says, that's just going to help the country. Be honest with yourself, be honest with the country, and there's nothing to be worried about. And so he was the one that kind of talked me into doing it in the first place. And God rest his soul. Great. He was one of those inspirational leaders, Rob. He was like you. He was prior enlisted guy. I think he served 38 years total, and retired as the SOCOM deputy, and then unfortunately passed away recently. But a great guy, great mentor, and a great guy for me to know as a young officer and pilot. Growing up underneath him, I was a captain executive officer for him, and he taught me leadership 101, and it was brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely right, man. Question for you before we get to the end of the show. In your writing of the new book, do you have access to any I don't know what to call it, but maybe confidential after action reports from the mill aides during the Biden years? Does the mill aid process have an after action report at the end of your tour where you write a report, or is it just like, no, we don't document any of that stuff?
No, we don't document it. It's pretty much. They don't even really want you to keep a journal. I started to keep a journal when I first started the job, but then the job was so busy and I was traveling all the time. I just kind of lost interest in it. But I did keep all my travel notes. I kept all those. I kept some of the plans that I had to deal with, some of the evacuation scenarios that the military aides are also responsible for, the fixed wing and the helicopter assets that go no matter where the president goes, they're there. And that really, to be honest with you, Rob, the football thing was probably the most visible responsibility, but the real work was being the on-scene operational commander for all the military assets that support the White House. WACA, all the drivers are Army guys, all the chefs are Navy guys. The White House Communications Agency is predominantly Army, but it's also a mixed joint command kind of deal. So and of course we had the social aides and the Marines and the guys that guarded the West Wing and all that kind of stuff. So you're kind of the on-scene commander for all these evacuation scenarios, and you're just trying to keep up with him. The travel, and I was always in the hotel room next to him or just down the hall, and so I would actually sleep with the football. Believe it or not, I would actually have the football right next to the bed. and go to sleep and try to get some sleep.
You know,
anyway.
when you got just a few minutes, you can't be diddling around with trying to open a safe. You know how hard those government safes are.
Yeah.
Well, my first book, I'm a slacker, Buzz. I'm not like you. I am actually doing a book. The first book should come out in early October. I think the second Thursday in October we picked. And you're going to hear from me about that because I'm going to ask you to do something for me regarding that. And it's going to be, it's going to have stories like you tell your story time in the book, but it's about really why Republicans really need to organize like the left does politically and activist wise, so that we can soundly defeat them every single time instead of just with a guy as great as Donald Trump, because we got to think beyond MAGA.
Yeah, we got to. I mean, I think we got a pretty deep bench, but we have to be willing to use it. You know what I mean? And
absolutely.
I think we've still got some rhinos in there. We've still got some resistors in there that hopefully Trump's going to weed out. You know, eventually. And J.D. Vance is looking good in 2028, and so is Marco. And I mean, again, one more quick point, and I know you're running out of time here, but. I think Trump has assembled the greatest cabinet in my lifetime. And all these people have amazed me. You know, even some of the ones I was like, you know, Tulsi Gabbard, I was like, okay, I guess I get it. But now she's remarkable. Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, remarkable. You know, I just think he's done a tremendous job. And what he has done is he dodged the problems he had last time. He was not a great personnel administrator, you know. And I think he's figured it out. I think he's been crossed up so many times now. That
I've been very impressed. I've been very impressed with him, and I was not a Marco Rubio fan very much, but I've always been watching him, especially on foreign policy, and he's in the right job at the right time. And I think you're right. Vance in 28's looking really good. Well, thanks a lot, my friend. I owe you a beer for helping me out, and most importantly for helping get this story to the American people. We appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Anytime, Rob. I'm looking forward to your book, man. Let me know how I can help.
All right. Thank you, sir. Well, tomorrow is Truth Thursday. CIA operative Sam Faddis, retired of And Magazine, is with me tomorrow. It's taken me months to get this guy scheduled. I hope everything's going well and we get to keep him, because Sam is a wonderful individual. Go follow him on Substack at And Magazine, and we'll see you then. I'm excited about it.